It's Wednesday, the 21st of June, 2023. Welcome to the Fast Five by Fear and Greed, where we give you the top 5 business stories you need to know in just 5 minutes. I'm Michael Thompson, and good morning, Sean Aylmer.
Morning, Michael.
Sean, 5 stories, 5 minutes. Let's jump straight into story number 1. And it's really a bit of a blunt warning from the Reserve Bank. If workers demand wage rises to match higher inflation and companies index their prices to the cost of living, then, unfortunately, interest rates will just keep rising.
That's right. The minutes of the Reserve Bank board meeting show just how worried the central bank is about the labour market in terms of too much strength and not enough productivity growth. The Reserve Bank lifted the benchmark rate 25 basis points to 4.1% at the beginning of the month, surprising many commentators, triggering a rush of downgrades for economic growth. Now, the minutes say that firms increasing prices and self-sustaining wages growth linked to past rates of inflation will make it much more difficult for the bank to contain inflation, and that means rate rises.
Yeah, that's okay to say, Sean, but how do you stop it from actually happening? People are going to demand higher wages and companies are going to pass on higher prices if they can.
Yes, very good point. The best way to stop it is to slow the economy down, which is what rising interest rates does. Also, it pushes unemployment higher. The labour market has been on a tear since late 2021, creating 1.1 million jobs, and the level of employment is now almost 8% above its pre-pandemic level, and mostly they've been in full-time jobs. We got some insight yesterday into how much higher the unemployment rate, which is currently at 3.6%, needs to go to help rein in inflation. Deputy Reserve Bank Governor Michelle Bullock said an unemployment rate of 4.5% is the lowest possible level consistent with the Reserve Bank's inflation target. The central bank expects it to reach that level late next year, though thus far the labour market has proven very resilient. But of course, that translates to tens of thousands of job losses. In fact, it's about 140,000 jobs that we need to lose to get to that 4.5%, Michael.
All right, on to story number 2 now, Sean. The Albanese government is seeking constitutional advice on whether the Greens' continual refusal to allow a debate on the $10 billion social housing fund is grounds for a double dissolution election. We could be going back to the polls, Sean.
Oh, ouch. The Greens are demanding the government enact a national rent freeze before considering the Housing Australia Future Fund bill. But Prime Minister Anthony Albanese said that was not only untenable, but would result in less supply and make the problem worse. A double dissolution trigger is gained when the Senate fails to pass a bill twice with a minimum of 3 months in between. On Monday, the Greens and the coalition teamed up in the Senate to defer debating and voting on the bill until mid-October. That could be the first half of the double dissolution trigger. Albanese told the caucus yesterday that the Greens are bringing a juvenile student politics approach, and that needs to be exposed.
All right. What else is going on in Canberra?
Plenty going on, but I must mention a great story in the Sydney Morning Herald and The Age. Since he was elected on 21 May 2022, the Prime Minister has held 172 press conferences endorsed across Australia and overseas, given 89 TV interviews, 128 radio interviews. More than his predecessors, the Prime Minister spreads the love around. He's appeared on 7's Sunrise and 9's Today programs 14 times each, ABC's News Breakfast 11 times. He's appeared on 10, Sky, AM and FM radio and in print. A big fan of communicating is our Prime Minister.
Yeah, certainly seems to be. Sean, story number 3. Woodside has approved the development of the $7.2 billion or 10.5 billion Aussie, so pretty big, deepwater oil project in the Gulf of Mexico, which it expects to begin production in 2028.
The final investment decision on the development, called Trion, of which Woodside's share will cost $4.8 billion, is the latest expansion plan by the oil and gas company, despite mounting environmental pressure to rein in its spending on new fossil fuel developments. According to a report in The Australian, Woodside said Trion makes excellent financial sense and its large oil reserves will generate lucrative returns for shareholders. Chief Executive Meg O'Neill said the project will be beneficial to shareholders and the global energy transition because it will help fund the shift to new energy. O'Neill said 2/3 of the Trion resource is expected to be produced within the first 10 years after startup.
All right, story number 4. How about this one, Sean? This is interesting. Australian energy market operator CEO Daniel Westerman has called for rooftop solar owners to become part of virtual power plants. That sounds kind of cool.
It is. The idea is that rooftop solar owners in a geography group together and feed power into a battery, which is then called on when needed within that geography by different members of it. Rooftop solar is already the largest single source of capacity of renewable energy, And Westerman wants homeowners to become more active participants in the energy market via these virtual power plants. He also called on Australia to become more energy efficient, saying that we are currently ranked 18th out of 25 in efficiency. Not real good.
No, not great. All right, last one. Story number 5, Sean. Renter confidence has fallen to record lows on the back of rising prices. This is according to the weekly ANZ and Roy Morgan survey.
Confidence among tenants fell back to its recent all-time low first hit in mid-May. Now, tenants have faced surging rents as a shortfall in listings collides with a rebound in overseas migration and international students post-COVID. Meanwhile, Michael, confidence among mortgage holders recovered a little over the week, but for those who have paid off their homes, sentiment sunk to its lowest level since early April 2020.
All right, there we go. The top 5 business stories in 5 minutes. Thank you, Sean.
Thank you, Michael.
It's Wednesday, the 21st of June, 2023. Remember to hit follow on the podcast. And if 5 minutes isn't enough for you, you can find our longer daily show called Fear and Greed, wherever you listen to podcasts. And don't miss as well our sister podcast, How Do They Afford That? Comes out every Wednesday, and it is all about making your money work a little bit harder for you. Today's is a good one for investors. I'm Michael Thompson, and that was the Fast 5 by Fear and Greed. Have a great day.